Hey, this is Dan Harris, host of the 10% Happier podcast. I'm here to tell you about a new series we're running this September on 10% Happier. The goal is to help you do your life better. The series is called Reset. It's all about hitting the reset button in many of the most crucial areas of your life. Each week, we'll tackle a topic like how to reset your nervous system, how to reset your relationships, how to reset your career. We're going to bring on top-notch scientists and world-class meditation teachers to give you deep insights and actionable advice. It's all delivered with our trademark blend of skepticism, humor, credibility, and practicality. 10% Happier is self-help for smart people. Come join the party.
It's rooted in one core belief, and that is there are no problems. There are only perceptions. And it sounds like a bold statement, but just hear me out. This idea first hit me back in 2008 when I was going through it. And I was sitting in Washington Square Park, which is in Manhattan, just outside of NYU, and I was completely paralyzed by fear, anxiety, and the weight of everything I had lost. And I remember watching thousands of people walk by, and they're laughing and living completely unaware of the emotional collapse that I was having inside. And that's when it dawned on me that if I'm the only one feeling the weight of this problem, then it has to be something that I've created. Okay?
Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, it's not good enough? Like perfectionism is the only standard, yet you're still left feeling behind. Perfectionism keeps us stuck. It robs us of our peace, our joy, and our freedom to just be. That's why I created Beauty of Imperfection, Good is Enough, a guided workbook to help you let go of the pressure, quiet your inner critic, and start celebrating progress over perfection. Inside, you'll find journaling prompts, tools that remind you your worth has never depended on being perfect. It's time to embrace the beauty of imperfection because good really is enough. And let me remind you, you are always worthy. You already are. Get your copy today. Emotionally unavailable. Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Malisa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hi guys, happy Monday, happy Labor Day to those in the States that celebrate. I hope you have a magical, marvelous day. Today's guest is Michael Shaw. We had such a lovely conversation, such a sweet dude. Michael isn't just another mindset coach. While most focus on surface level solutions, he helps people rewire their thinking from the inside out using strategic mindset techniques, emotional intelligence, and positive psychology tools. Overcoming a violent childhood, losing his father to suicide, and guiding his children through their own battles with anxiety have given him a unique edge in helping others build unshakable mental resilience. He is on a mission to help ambitious high achievers reclaim their mental well-being and build resilience for life. Like I said, we had such a good time. I'm going to make sure to include his links in the show notes. I think it's pretty easy. On Instagram, he's Michael Shaw Mindset Mastery, I think. Michael Shaw Mindset. It's Michael Shaw .mindset. Of course, it's going to be in the show notes, so don't worry. And then his website is michaelshawmindset.com. Again, that'll be in the show notes. I thought he was lovely. I really enjoyed our conversation. And it's just another voice adding to our knowledge about reprogramming the stuff that we learned from childhood. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Make sure to check the show notes for links for booking to be on my show or to my workbooks, my website, YouTube, all the things. So, okay, I think that's it. I gotta get going. So, I hope I'm not forgetting anything. I feel like I am. Oh well, okay. Love you guys. Have a great Monday. Bye. Here's me and Michael Shaw. Emotionally unavailable. Okay, so I saw that you work with people, well, mostly high achievers, to reclaim their mental well being and build resilience for life. For one thing, in just a second, I want to get into what you define as high achiever because I've been hearing this a lot and I'm just curious about people's interpretation of what that is. But you work with how to break free from anxiety, how to transform negative thought patterns into mental strength, how to overcome high achievers' depression trap, how to support loved ones through mental health crisis. So the ones that really pulled to me were, like I said, understanding what people mean when they say high achiever. Because
Hmm.
I'm wondering if I fall into that, but I just don't really know. I feel like it's an oldest child thing, which I'm not. I'm a middle,
So
but
am I.
still. Um, and then I also really want to talk about supporting our loved ones through mental health crises. But I wanted to start. I know that you had a pretty tumultuous childhood like I did. So I kind of wanted to start there if you were comfortable.
I am comfortable with wherever you would like to go.
Okay. So, when you describe your childhood as violent, what was that for you?
Okay. Well, I mean, before we even get started, I want to thank you for having me on. Um,
Yeah.
it's really an honor to be here, and I appreciate the space for its focus on overcoming adversity, but also for encouraging the listeners in their reflection growth and the deeper meaning behind whatever we're struggling with. Um, and to address just really quickly, I'll pull the curtain back to address higher achiever, our high
Yeah.
achiever. I don't really love the term.
Okay.
And what I can tell you, if you're hearing it over and over, it's because the people who help coaches and people like me with their marketing tell you to focus in on a specific target market.
Uh-huh. I love your
And
honesty so much for that because you're
yeah,
exactly right.
and your higher achiever in their minds is the person who is willing to invest in themselves and always wants to better themselves, which is great. And if that is purely the definition of high achiever, then I'm all for it. If you're willing to be introspective and look at yourself and you want to be the best version of yourself, in my mind, you're a high achiever. I don't care if you're a CEO or if you're working, washing dishes. If you're looking to bet, because I've been both, by the way,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think my want to achieve has changed no matter what my station or status in life was.
Oh, thank you for your honesty because this is exactly my feeling when I see people marketing this way. Ooh, I feel like I'm going to piss some people off with that. But because to me, I'm like, oh, okay, so you're saying your ideal client is the person with a lot of money willing to invest in their progress or whatever. Not you specifically, but the
Right.
people, some people, I'm not going to say all, but some people that I've seen use it a lot lately. I'm like, okay. And I have never really gotten the opportunity to pay for marketing help. So I kind of just like I've had some people willing to do like a free coaching cycle or whatever, or like if I'm on
Right.
their show, they offer me something free and I'm like, I'll take it.
Sure.
I'm a take what's offered kind of gal. But yeah, I've started to learn kind of the way the traditional marketer feels they need to,
Well,
narrow down.
and it's I'm not trying to disparage them either because everyone has to make a living. And
Absolutely.
so, there are a lot of people out there who are trying to make a living or create a career as a coach. And because of the times that we're in, the most effective way to reach people is usually through social media, and there's
Mhm.
algorithms and there's targeting, there's all that stuff that has nothing to do with who you are as a coach or who your clients are
Yes.
as people. But if you want to put food on the table, the marketing people are going to give you the most direct way to see results, so you continue to pay them for their services, right?
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, it's part of the machine.
Yeah.
I know, and I really that's the part I struggle with the most, honestly, with trying to be a light in this world is like, well, you got to see the light first. You got to see me. You got to find
Right.
me somewhere. And so
Exactly.
I absolutely understand defining your target audience and some of that is part of our growth and evolution anyway, because I think all of us start out like, well, no, I can help everyone. Like
Sure.
and then kind of learning A, you're just not meant for everyone at
Right.
every time, and B, you really are more suited for certain things.
Well, right. It's like, do you want your light to shine dimly everywhere or extremely brightly on a focus group who you can really help?
Oh man, I've never thought of it like exactly like that. And that I love that so much. That's beautiful. Thank you. I really appreciate you explaining the way you feel about that. Seriously.
My pleasure. Okay, so your question was again, just repeat it for me about my childhood.
Just a little overview, you don't have to go too
Sure.
deep. I'm just
No.
curious.
Right. So I'm a child of the '70s, born in the late '60s.
Okay.
Um, and you know, I lived in a household that had domestic violence. And you know, when people hear that, they immediately go to what they've seen in the movies or whatever, and
Mhm.
it's you think of a father coming home drunk and beating his family, what have you, and that wasn't the case, which actually made things more confusing because I had two parents who actually really loved me and my brother and sister. And my dad coached my my little league teams, and was at every swim meet and supported me in whatever I wanted to do. Um, and my mother was supportive as well. But when my father, flew off the handle, he flew off the handle. And
Mhm.
and that was, I mean, what the images that come up in my mind when I talk about the domestic violence I experienced is mostly of him fighting with my mother. Um, and because quite frankly, physical punishment was kind of the way it was in the '70s.
Absolutely.
You
Your
know,
parents were absolutely not the only ones
they were not
spanking
the only
even in excess.
right, and in public and wherever, and it was, which to me is just the craziest thing.
Right.
And like I have two kids who are grown now, but I've never ever even thought of acting violently towards them. Why that would be something you think was acceptable to the most vulnerable person in your life is beyond me. And what do you think that's teaching them? I don't know.
Mhm.
But anyway, so that I was where that really affected my life the most, um, was as I grew into a teenager, I became the protector, and which absolutely gave me a hero complex,
Mm.
which I carried with me, you know, into my 40s probably. Um, and that's where we get into primal trauma and psychic break, and where you have to go on your journey to reconcile that with yourself,
Yeah.
because you're living with a persona that was built by your ego, and your ego is there to protect you.
Yeah.
But whereas it protects you in the time it's created, it creates a belief system, and that belief system becomes outdated 10, 20, 30 years later. But many of us are still carrying that belief system at the present time, and it sends out an energy, and you get back that energy, and you wonder, why am I always stuck? Why do I always end up in the same place? Because you're working with an outdated belief system that no longer serves you.
Isn't that the truth? I know for myself, just constantly when I was going through I'll say healing, um, the grief that I experienced over the things I didn't know before that obviously informed some really negative choices. learning to forgive myself for not having the right information was such a process. And now I can say that and almost laugh at myself that it was that hard because obviously, like, if I had known what I know now, I would have made different choices. But it was very difficult to compute that I made such lousy choices based off some really lousy programming with my children, with my, two spouses, like all the mistakes I've made in interpersonal relationships. And when you say ego, boy, I really victimized the shit out of myself because I just and not knowingly, like, I was one of those survivors, so I had that survivor hat on who's, like,
Hmm.
in my masculine energy all the time and just very, like, "I don't just survive, I thrive, and I don't even know that my, childhood had that big of an impact on me." It did. But, like, because my life outwardly didn't look like my siblings' choices, and also my grandma, who was my primary caregiver for most of my life because my parents were addicts, she reinforced that notion by saying things like, I didn't take my dad's death as hard as my brother's because I didn't, like, immediately go out and start rebelling, and what I wanted to say was, "You mean I continued to be the good girl that you raised me to be, the perfectionist, the person who wants
Right.
nothing more than to make you happy and realizes more every day I will never be able to. I did exactly what you wanted me to do, and so now I'm being punished again," is what it felt like. Like, you can't even see my grief? What the fuck, you know?
So let me ask you this. How do you feel about yourself today?
Today, I feel compassionate for myself. I feel really full of love and unconditional positive regard because I'm thankful for every version of me that got me to here with the information that they had. And I also just understand I was never meant to be perfect and that I'm doing all the messy shit just right.
And you're helping a lot of people today, right? With this
Yeah.
podcast? Okay, so listen very carefully to this. So you said you made bad choices and you were living in your ego, but at some point you took that journey and reconciled that your past, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're serving this incredible purpose, correct? So that is why we say your purpose is parked right next to your pain.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to look at that pain. Don't be afraid to revisit your pain as an adult. Walk with your child self, hold your child self's hand, look at the pain, understand it now through your adult eyes, recognize how it influenced your outlook, your set of beliefs, and the process that I take my clients through. And it doesn't happen overnight, but we look at every single belief in your belief system. And the ones that are no longer serving you, we thank them with love and we cast them out.
And
Okay.
that's a
Because,
very important piece, don't you think?
yeah,
The with love.
of course, with love, because it did serve a purpose at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It, it, it did protect you from whatever you needed protecting from. It did give you the strength to walk through whatever fire you had to walk through. But
Mm-hmm.
you're in a boat right now, and either your beliefs help you float and help you move forward, or they help you sink. The ones that are making you sink, you have to throw out of the boat. But you can thank them and say, I no longer have room in my boat for you.
Yeah. No, that's so true. One of the first things that I really had to do to understand where some of my, like, insecurities were coming from was to get down to this root of understanding that I had this deep burning desire to feel special and chosen and never felt that way my whole life. And then I understood, like, well, because you never chose you. You didn't make yourself special, like I have self abandoned my entire life
So,
to please everyone around me.
so that's quite frankly the classic journey from the point in your life when you had your primal trauma and your psychic break. We come into the world expecting and receiving nothing but love and care. From the time we're in the womb, we're born and we cry, someone changes our diaper. We cry, someone feeds us. You know, we giggle, we're getting all this attention and nothing but love. When you have that psychic break, that initial trauma, and that could range from something as simple as going from being an only child to having another your parents have another child, and all of a sudden they're giving the baby love. And what do you do? What do you say to yourself? Well,
Mhm.
I need to get that love back. I need to get that attention back. And some people do it by becoming an overachiever. If I do great at school or I excel at sports, they have to love me, right?
Mhm.
Some people do it by acting out, right? They'll have to give me the attention. But that is that's when you go from the light of your soul and all your decisions and all your belief system coming from that light to your ego stepping in and going, oh, dude, we got to protect you here. They're not giving you the love. We got to come up with a system here. We have to, right? And you can see how that can carry through to, I'm going to do great at school. I do great at college. I'm going to get that internship. I'm going to get that position. And all of a sudden you're 45 years old and you're still functioning in that way.
Mhm.
And, and it's somewhere, at that later point in life where we find ourselves. And and some people just skip the surface and other people really go deep. But that's why you'll hear people in their 40s, 50s, they don't care what other people think anymore, right?
Right.
You finally comfortable in your own skin and with who you are,
Absolutely.
and the more you can take that journey with yourself and come out the other side, what I call a rebirth or a reawakening, you know, you, no matter where you are today, in a couple of months from now, you could be someone who's just bathed in love for yourself and happiness with yourself, and because you found your purpose, because you addressed all of that pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was when I really started working on that self-love piece that it all clicked, that I always felt like nobody loved me the way I love them because I didn't know love. And I don't think that you can until you cultivate it within, and that it is just that love that you build within that you can share with others. Everything else, in my opinion, is dopamine, adrenaline, serotonin, oxytocin. Like
Right.
everything else that we associate with love is a chemical response. But love itself is the energy that you create within yourself. And if you can't feel it for yourself, you can't receive it from anybody else. That was a huge awakening point for me. I mean, there was like a lot of little awakenings all in a very short amount of time. So I was like, I might be in spiritual psychosis. I'm not sure. But that was a really big piece, was like,
Yeah, and it also
oh,
gives you
this
the
is what I was missing.
it gives you the ability to give the love without putting expectations on what you're receiving back.
Right.
You're giving the love because it makes you feel good to give the love.
I'm sorry. Someone just let my dog in my room and he's causing complete chaos. He's knocking everything down. Thank you. Was that Charlie? Okay. Oh, I didn't either. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I like spilled a drink and everything.
That's okay.
I was like, "Oh my god, everything's breaking right in front of my eyes, Mercury retrograde." But no, I think expectations were the other big piece for me, was like it's funny
Sure.
because it just came in the form of a horoscope that said, "Check in on how you deal with things when someone doesn't meet your expectations," and I was like, "Oh, I don't even wanna look at this because I already know. I already know this is the key to everything for me because I expect way too much." But I understood my betrayal wound through that because I
Mhm.
understood that I was just running around loving everybody in the way I wanted to be loved. And
Right.
so I give, and then I create a contract
Yeah.
binding signed
Mm.
by both of us in our blood. And then when you don't meet the expectation that I created on my own, never communicated an ounce of it, betrayed. But I mean, that was like my number one wound because I had inconsistent caregivers who were addicts. And, I think all children go through betrayal with their parents the first time they see that they're not superhuman because it rocks our world a little bit, rocks our safety. Because when we live in a world where our parent can lift a car off of us or save us from a, bank robber, I might have been the only kid that would sit around being like, "So if somebody came up to us with a gun, would you save me?" Like, I worried about stuff like that far more than any of my peers did, I think. But when even, like, with my grandma, when the first time she forgot to do something she said that she would do, I remember exactly how crestfallen I felt because it was the first time I saw her a little more human because she was the only consistent person I'd ever had in my life, and it was something small. She said we were doing a stint at mom's, living with her for a little bit. She said she'd bring my bike over that was still at her house, and she forgot, and, oh, that was devastating to me because, like, you're the only person in my life who doesn't forget, and now you too? But I feel like all children experience that at some point. When your parents, you learn that they actually are humans and they make mistakes. And, I just think it can rock their safety a little bit. But again, expectations that we create with our own little weird filters, I think are kind of for me, it was the root of all of my problems.
Yeah, listen, look, my turning point didn't come during a victory. It came during a complete emotional collapse. And when you speak about strength, the persona I had built to survive could no longer carry the weight of my childhood trauma that I
Mhm.
hadn't yet fully faced. And prior to doing what I do now in coaching, I was in the fitness world, and I owned personal training businesses, and I competed as a bodybuilder and as a triathlete and as a Muay Thai fighter. So
Wow.
when you have a persona that's completely built on strength, and everybody looks at you literally as a superhero,
Yeah.
when you're going through a collapse, it's confusing and it's crippling. Um, but knowing that I had to face that childhood trauma, that's the moment that everything changed.
Mhm.
And the real work began, and I began healing old wounds and rewriting my inner narrative and learning to lead from strength, not from survival, which is a word you used earlier. Um, and quite frankly, that journey led me to create my whole coaching philosophy, my mastery mindset library, which is a framework that I use to help people rediscover who they are and live with peace, clarity, and purpose. And another word you used, betrayal. One of the most pivotal moments in my life came in 2008 when I was blindsided by betrayal. My fiance committed adultery and left.
Mm.
And in a flash, I lost my home. I lost my sense of family. I lost my sense of self and the stability I thought I had as a father. I had two small children at the time. And, I remember sitting in an empty room and asking myself, how do I rebuild a life that I didn't even see coming? Like I was blindsided and I had to learn and teach myself how to trust again, how to forgive without forgetting, and how to show up for my kids while I was still healing.
Yeah.
It's none of us are just this one person. We have kids, we have people who work for us or people who we work for and family and so there's a lot of balls in the air that we're juggling. Um, but I think quite frankly what actually helped me that it wasn't my first encounter with emotional upheaval. I did grow up in a home with domestic violence. I did take on the role of protector and have a hero complex and rush to save my mother. And, that kind of wiring shaped everything. It shaped my relationships. It shaped my self-worth and how I handled pain. And then later, As a father myself, I ended up facing a different challenge, having to support one of my children who was struggling with anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Um, and but what I had learned and what my life had taught me and my journey had taught me was that this time I wasn't the fixer. Okay. I was the witness,
Yep.
and I couldn't solve it. I could only be present. And that experience taught me the deepest kind of compassion, to walk alongside someone without judgment, meeting them where they are, not where I think they should be. And,
Right.
and like I said, all of these experiences became the foundation for the work that I do today. Helping people move through fear, anxiety, and self sabotage, um, because I've been able to create and discover and curate practical tools that actually transform how people see themselves and how they live.
Yeah.
And we very recently, in the last 2 months, it it came full circle, and I was able to take one of the most meaningful steps of my life, because I became a living kidney donor for my daughter's
Oh,
grandfather.
wow.
So I was able to donate my kidney, and he's gonna be able to receive a kidney because of that. Um And, it wasn't just a medical decision. It was a personal declaration that I now live in alignment with my values and not my wounds. And if you see this, what I'm wearing here, I wear every day. It says I am. That's something that was taught to me by my coach, and I teach to people now. It's your I am declaration. And it's that I am declaration is a few statements after you've gone through your journey and your reawakening, declaring I am, fill in the blanks, to the world. And once you do that, and once you create your core values, you can live in alignment. To me, that's what emotional availability is. It comes when you journey back to your soul, and it's an
Mhm.
ongoing practice of returning to who we are beneath our pain. And that's why I'm grateful to be here and to share that journey and to honor what it means to come home to yourself.
I love that phrase because the first time I heard it, it really resonated with me, like, "Oh, that is what I've done." And you made a really beautiful point about especially when it's your child. The reason that we try to fix so much with our children or just outright dismiss them when they're going through something is because we don't know how to sit with the discomfort that comes up in us when we're watching them suffer in any way. And so I have really it's not easy. I'm not dismissive with them at all anymore, but I am still working on not jumping in because I hate the way I feel when they are going through something. So it is a practice for me to be a witness to them instead of because it's usually, like, some stressor they're experiencing that really would be, like, fairly easy for me to fix, but I'm working so hard on just allowing them to have their experience, and oftentimes, they're not asking me more often than not, they're not asking me to fix anything, they're just
Right.
expressing something, and, ooh, that's a work for me.
Well, sometimes they're just looking to you to provide them an avenue to express themselves and figure the problem out for themselves. Sometimes they're looking for you to work on the problem with them. And then in the nuclear moments, they're looking for you to tell them what to do, and they have to listen and carry that out. And by the way, that carries through, and anyone who's listening who's upper management, that carries through to how you manage a workforce as well.
Ooh, so true.
You know, we and we talk about being emotionally available to others, which is what you're talking about now. Um, but most people aren't yet emotionally available to themselves.
Exactly.
Okay. And that's like the oxygen mask that comes down in a plane accident. You have to put your mask on first before you can help anybody else. But we hide our unavailability by living in constant distraction or with our performance or perfectionism. And this way of living presents itself as a strength and as a presence, but it's really, again, our ego protecting us.
Mhm.
Your emotional availability, in my opinion, starts with being radically honest about what you feel and why you feel it and what your needs are. So so you have to slow down enough to notice your patterns and triggers and defaults without judging yourself. You know, and
Mhm.
and just to lend a little insight into what I mean by that, that's how you talk to yourself, how you present to the world, how you view yourself as a victim, or how you give yourself agency and ownership over what's happening in your life.
Mhm.
Um, and most importantly, it means learning to respond from a place of alignment, like I just said, not from a place of fear or shame. And that's the work I'm involved with every day with my clients. We start with awareness, we move to healing, and then we build something stronger than they've ever had before.
I love that. And I loved what you said too about you really honing in on helping people rediscover themselves because so many people don't know how to spend their free time. I was one of those people who I kind of fell back into reading probably 12, 13 years ago because I didn't for a while. That was a nice new hobby. Like I could do that. But I kind of just had to start trying different things to figure out like how to be able to spend time with myself because I sucked at it.
Well, look, there's so many ways to distract ourselves now. You're on your phone, looking through your Instagram, there's you're Netflixing and chilling, and which is all great, fine, but they are distractions for from finding yourself and taking that journey, um, and pulling yourself away or not even recognizing your problems. But the word problem is a big word. Um,
Mhm.
that goes to one of my core beliefs and coaching philosophies now. You know how most coaches and therapists will give you strategies to help you with your problems.
Mhm.
I have learned to look at it completely differently. It's one of the biggest shifts that I've made and that I now help people make. And it's rooted in one core belief, and that is there are no problems. There are only perceptions, and it sounds like a bold statement, but just hear me out. This idea first hit me back in 2008 when I was going through it, and I was sitting in Washington Square Park, which is in Manhattan, just outside of NYU, and I was completely paralyzed by fear, anxiety, and the weight of everything I had lost. Um, and I remember watching thousands of people walk by and they're laughing and living completely unaware of the emotional collapse that I was having inside. And that's when it dawned on me that if I'm the only one feeling the weight of this problem, then it has to be something that I've created. Okay. It's not environmental collapse and the world's going to die in 10 days, right? That's a problem.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't blaming myself. It was more of a like empower yourself kind of way, because that realization became the lens through which I began to see everything differently. So, what we call a problem is often just a situation that's stretching us, right? It's challenging our current thinking, it's testing our resources, and exposing maybe the fact that we're not quite ready for something yet. And when we slap the word problem on it, we give it weight and we create emotional resistance, right? We trigger fear, paralysis, and avoidance. So I
Mhm.
started reframing it. And instead of calling something a problem, I ask, is it a challenge? Is it an invitation to grow? Is it a mirror showing me something that I haven't yet owned?
Mhm.
Okay. And that simple shift changes everything. Because problems feel heavy and overwhelming, like something happening to us, right? But challenges, they're active, they're solvable, they invite engagement. right? To solve the challenge. And when you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to teach me? You unlock a whole new level of clarity. And, you know, grinding through the gears and the years of my life, I realized that that mindset didn't come from a book. It actually came from all my time in the gym as a bodybuilder. Because through all those years of bodybuilding, one thing that I learned was that training your muscles to grow, they don't grow from ease. They grow from resistance. Okay?
Right.
Your muscles grow when you tear them down, okay, and you fill them back up with nutrition and rest and whatever, and they come back stronger. So we used something called periodization. Periodization, not an easy word. And that's when we purposely increase the resistance right after we hit a plateau, because that's when growth happens. And I started seeing my entire life the same way. Financial stress, relationship conflict, emotional burnout, that's all resistance training for your mind and your spirit. And I asked myself, if I can embrace stress in a gym as a necessary part of growth, why wouldn't I embrace it in life the same way? And so now when someone comes to me and says, I feel stuck, I don't just throw them strategies and little mindset tips. We slow down, we unpack it, we ask, what's the specific challenge? What muscle, mentally, emotionally, relationally, needs to grow? And what outdated belief pattern is this exposing? So we take what looks like a problem and we break it down into three things: a pattern, a perception, and a plan. And from that point forward, everything starts to shift. Instead of I'm failing in my business, it becomes I'm being invited to grow. Maybe I need a new level of strategy, discipline, or courage. Instead of I'm lost in my relationship, it becomes this might be a moment of realignment where what's no longer serving me. And that's the shift I discussed before, from victimhood to agency. And that's where
Mhm.
all of your power is. Okay, you've done that. So I'm going to give everyone listening something practical to use right now. It's a reframing exercise. Okay. And just think about the biggest, what you call problem in your life right now. What if it's not happening to you? What if it's happening for you? What if it's an opportunity to take the next step in your evolution? And I know it sounds foreign. I know when you're going through it, it sounds impossible, but I can promise you, as sure as we're all here right now, I walked through that fire. Melissa walked through that fire. So it's real, and you're not alone. Everyone has to go through it at some point. It's just
Mhm.
you choose to go through it. So it's just your muscles for this challenge that you're trying to develop. And once you name the lesson, the problem, once you name the lesson, right, your problem starts to lose its power. So we can grind the mastery mindset framework that I've created down even further, and we can walk through 5 key phrases. Revisit the break, what we discussed in the beginning. We begin by revisiting the moment of your primal trauma, which is your psychic break, where you were transferred from the light and love of your soul into the fear and fragmentation of your ego. And that moment created the protective identity and outdated belief system that you've been operating from for years, which is why you're stuck, which is why you keep ending up in the same place no matter what you do. And number 2 is awareness. We recognize the unconscious beliefs and protective patterns that are driving your actions, and then we rewire, which is challenging and replacing those outdated beliefs with ones rooted in your chosen identity, who you are now after casting aside all the crap that's weighing you down. There was a movie called The Devil's Advocate with Al
Mhm.
Pacino and
Yeah, that was a
Keanu
good
Reeves,
one.
and Al Pacino says, "Who you carrying those bricks for?" Right? Put the bag of bricks down. They're
Yes.
not doing anything for you. right? You've been clinging onto those bricks going, this is my problem for so long. Put them down.
Mhm.
No one else has them, right? Because they're a creation, right? They're a perception. So, after we rewire, that's when we create alignment, declaring our values and building a life that reflects them, right? And then activation, which is creating daily habits, boundaries, and systems that support your best self. But just think of this. If you can declare who you are with your I am declaration, and then say, these are my 4, 5, or 6 core values that I are I'm unwilling to compromise. This is who I am and what I value. Well, then you have a guideline for every action you should take in your life. And if you're acting out of alignment, you're going to notice that's where things go astray. So you're actually creating your own blueprint. And I
Mhm.
can promise you, when you're acting in alignment, oh my God, that is freedom. That is walking with clarity and confidence that everything I'm doing is serving the purpose that I have and the person who I want to be. And it stops the self-sabotage, and it unlocks a version of ourselves that's clearer, stronger, and more deeply fulfilled. And
Absolutely.
I know that was a lot, but I had to get that out.
No, I loved it. I loved it so much. Yeah. Well, that was great. I love the work you're doing because it's important. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you feel like you didn't get to touch on? You want to, shout out where we can find you, anything you're
Sh-
promoting?
Sure. Well, uh, here's a practical tool for everyone to take with them, and you can use right now. Just kind of summing it all up. When something triggers you, just pause and ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself right now? Is this story empowering me or limiting me? And what belief do I want to act from instead? 3 very simple questions that will make things seem a lot simpler and a lot clearer to you how to move forward. And that single moment of reflection, um, that breath between reaction and response, 2 different things, is where your entire life can change. And growth doesn't happen in huge moments. It happens in small, consistent rewrites of of your inner script. And most people don't need more information. They need permission to stop pretending, to be
Mm,
fully themselves, to let go of the version of them that was built to survive, again, survive, and start becoming the one that's here to thrive. And that's living in alignment, means knowing your values and making decisions that reflect those values, even when it's uncomfortable. And that's not surface level change, it's transformation from the inside out.
mhm.
Um, so as far as where to reach me or how to find me, I've actually put something very special together just for today, as a thank you for having me on and for creating such a meaningful space for all of us to explore our healing, growth, and rediscovery. So anyone listening, if you've been feeling stuck or overwhelmed or quietly out of alignment, um, it doesn't matter whether you're picking up the pieces after a setback or simply ready to reconnect with who you really are. This is just for you. Um, and it's my gift from the heart. It's absolutely free. So you're not being sold anything. But it's 2 powerful tools that I use with my clients, and it helps them to get unstuck and start moving forward with clarity and confidence. The first one is called my Fear to Freedom Formula. And it's a simple, practical guide to help you break through self-doubt, overthinking, and hesitation so you can actually take that action that feels good and grounded. And second, and this is the big one, I'm inviting you to your free mastery mindset breakthrough session. 60 minutes, just you and me, absolutely free. We'll take a deep dive where we uncover the internal patterns that are holding you back, and reframe the stories that no longer serve you, and create a strategy for you to move forward with intention. And super easy to grab both gifts. Just send me a DM on Instagram. Message me the word freedom to @michaelshaw.mindset. I'm going to spell it because some people misspell my name. It's MICHAELSHAW.MINDSET. And just take advantage of the opportunity, please. It comes straight from the heart. DM me the word freedom, and I'll send both gifts your way completely free. And it's just my way of saying thank you for showing up today and for being the kind of person who is actively seeking transformation. And, together maybe we can walk the road with clarity, courage, and purpose.
I love that. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for being here. I've had such a good time with you. I've definitely walked away with more insight, and I know that our listeners will too. I'm going to stop recording, but don't hang up yet.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, my mouse.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelisahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram @melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops. Emotionally unavailable. All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming. Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.